Vincent Desharnais speaks out on leaving the Edmonton Oilers for the Vancouver Canucks, and 3 defensemen UFAs are still out there who would fit in perfect with Vancouver. We'll be breaking down all of that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first, we know you guys are getting your Canucks news from all over the world, from Canada all the way to the UK, and for that, we have a special offer just for you, and I'm going to let Mark take it from here.
With the Vancouver Canucks adding multiple layers of defense this offseason, maybe it's time you guys start thinking about adding multiple layers of defense to your browsing as well. And that's why I want to let you guys know about NordVPN, which is the fastest VPN out there. A VPN, or virtual private network, encrypts your IP address, so when you are on public networks, you can create your own private network. This means you can enjoy watching Canucks Digest videos, watching the Vancouver Canucks, no matter if they're on a road trip in California or playing in Sweden. You can just enjoy watching hockey games on the go safely and securely using NordVPN and their virtual private network encryptions, so you can make your own private network on the go. Right now, if you go to nordvpn.com/Canucks, you can use this exclusive offer and start browsing online with your VPN. It's not only speed when using NordVPN, you can also use their Threat Protection Pro, which has you covered. When using the Threat Protection Pro, you can think of this as your Thatcher Demko of your computer, gloving down any unwanted threats coming your way. So why wait? Upgrade your browsing experience by checking out nordvpn.com/Canucks to use this exclusive code. NordVPN also offers a 30-day money-back guarantee if you don't enjoy their services, so go check out NordVPN. You can use this exclusive offer and never miss another Canucks highlight. Once again, check out nordvpn.com/Canucks, and I want to give a huge shout out to NordVPN for sponsoring this video.
Thanks, Mark. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is Desharnais speaks out. Now, Vinny Desharnais was recently on the Jason Gregor podcast, and he had some quotes to say about leaving Edmonton and reminiscing with some former teammates during the offseason. The first of which saying that it was a tough decision for me, but seeing how happy everyone was for me, it was really nice. It made me feel a little bit better about it. And he went a step further, reminiscing where he was with some former teammates recently at Conor McGregor's wedding, saying it's going to be weird playing against the boys next season. Seeing all the boys, it was so cool to see how happy they were for me, how excited they were, but it was also very sad. It was kind of the last times that we would spend together and not hit each other and try and slash each other. So there was a little bit of fun there to be had, where he was poking fun about the prospect of not playing with those guys anymore. Again, he was in the system for 8 years, played a full season with Edmonton last season, so he did have a lot of chemistry with those guys. But it does seem that he is ready to move on and move that over to Vancouver with some new teammates and some new potential line mates, potentially moving up to that top line, like it's been alluded to and been reported on even more so since we covered it, and other places have been covering it as well. They've been covering it more and more about the prospect of him moving up to that top line with Quinn Hughes. Over some thought, we have come to the conclusion that it might be a pretty decent decision to move him up there as far as his own production and what he can bring to the table as far as a balanced defensive pairing with Quinn Hughes, and as far as playing against those former teammates of his. When you look at their schedule, we do play Edmonton 3 times next season, 2 times at home, 1 time on the road, November 9th, January 18th, and January 23rd, so twice in the month of January. We did sweep them 4-0 last season in the season series. Again, the playoffs didn't work out exactly how we had hoped. However, I think this season is potentially going to be a different story, where Vancouver seemed to have gotten a lot better in the offseason. I think we look a lot better now than we did last season going into last offseason going into last season. And I think Edmonton did lose a lot of key pieces, one of those being Vinny Desharnais, who we took over and brought into our own system. So it is nice to see that we were able to kind of keep up that rivalry where we took one of their own and we were able to potentially make him better and use him in a way that Edmonton never could. We've seen that where a lot of guys on Vancouver are having career seasons where they're having seasons where they didn't expect to get that in the places that they were before they got to Vancouver, before they got to Rick Tocchet, and how he coaches and how he just focuses on team chemistry and depth and make sure the right guys are playing together and make sure that the right matchups are there. So I don't trust that that he is going to find the right pairing for Vinny Desharnais and this defensive unit. I think this defensive unit is going to look very strong into next season. Again, we don't have Nikita Zadorov, but we do have some other big bodies there, and we have production scorers where we are going to be able to have that goal scoring defense and as well as the physicality to hold it down as well. But let us know what you guys think as well on that as well for our defense heading into next season. There was another quote that Desharnais had, and that was one that was quoting pretty fun at Calgary, where he said, Vancouver is not as bad as Calgary as far as where he could have gone in the NHL. So it is nice to see, and I don't doubt that when we play Calgary over those 4 games next season, 2 at home, 2 on the road, I think Calgary definitely is going to play with a bigger chip on their shoulder, but they're going to try and take it to us, where they're going to try and want revenge for those comments. And I think, too, Edmonton is definitely going to play us tougher. We're going to play them tougher because of that added story from last season, where we want the revenge. They want that preservation of the Western Crown. So there's definitely going to be some awesome rivalries heading into next season. And Vinny Desharnais is at the heart of those conversations, where he's stoking the fire on both sides of it, and I think it's going to be great to see heading into next season. Let us know what you guys think down below as far as the rivalries heading into next season. And with that, let's hop into our second topic of the day, which is 3 defensemen still out there. Now, the Hockey Writers did have an article where they talked about 3 defensemen that Vancouver could still go out and get that would be cap friendly. The first of which is someone that we covered not too long ago, and that is Justin Schultz. He was Carson Soucy's teammate in Seattle, so you know that they would be able to put up good production together, especially with the shuffling that Vancouver seems to be doing with their defensive unit. If they were to bring in a guy like Schultz, who knows what you do with all the other guys as well. You could have some shakeup there as far as where the second and the third pairing go. And you have Hronek too, where you have to factor him into that. But Justin Schultz is someone who's been around the league for a while. He did win back-to-back Stanley Cups with Pittsburgh. He has had a bit of an up and down as far as his career has gone. You see here that when Schultz was a coveted free agent coming out of the NCAA, the Canucks were one of the teams bidding for his services. While Allvin wasn't the GM at the time, he might still be interested in the Vancouver native due to the current front office's familiarity with him. It was, in fact, then Pittsburgh GM Jim Rutherford himself, Trader Jim, who acquired him from the Edmonton Oilers in 2015 to 2016 and signed to a 3-year extension the first day of free agency in 2017. And this is a team where we might have been surprised if they didn't go out and sign someone right away, because they did make a lot of signings on this opening day of free agency this season. So I'm surprised that he wasn't one of them, considering Trader Jim's familiarity with him. But it is interesting to see that he has that familiarity with Trader Jim. He has that familiarity with Carson Soucy. And where Schultz had his best season with the Penguins, posting a career-high 12 goals, 51 points in 2016-2017. He also shined in the playoffs with 4 goals, 13 points, helping the Penguins to their second straight Stanley Cup. Like DeBrusk, has extensive postseason experience. It was really good for the Seattle Kraken when they made it to the second round in 2023. He led all defensemen with 3 goals and 10 points, averaging only 15.54 of ice time. So the numbers speak for itself for him. And when you look at them as well, you can pause it if you want to as well. You take a look at his numbers. He has a lot of playoff experience, where he has 81 games in the postseason alone, almost an entire regular season that he's played in the postseason. So it would be nice to get that playoff experience in Vancouver and really help these guys, especially with pairing him with a guy like Carson Soucy, where team chemistry is one of the mottos of this team. So you bring in a guy that can do that, like Olli Maatta would potentially do for Filip Hronek. I think that would be very interesting to see on this Vancouver team. I know a lot of people are saying that this team is already set. We've already made all the moves that we need to make. But there's always things that you can do and moves that you can make if you are able to do it, if they are cap friendly. And that's one of the things that is very key to look at with these 3 guys. The second person is Tyson Barrie. And Tyson Barrie, he's been around for a while. He's bounced around with a lot of teams: Colorado, Toronto, Edmonton, and Nashville most recently. So he has been more of a journeyman. He has been around the league for a long time, however. Not a lot of playoff experience, however, still 47 games, not too bad. But again, he is someone who has been on the ups and downs of his career. And you see here where Barrie is another Vancouver native that could find his way to the Canucks on a bargain deal. He could anchor the second power play unit, along with adding more speed and puck movement to the defensive core. He was rumored to be a target of Allvin's last December, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him revisit interest sometime this offseason. He won't get nearly as much as he got in his last contracts, with analytics projecting a little bit over $1.74 million on a 1-year deal. So if they're able to get him on a 1-year rental potentially, I think that would be good for Vancouver, where it worked out with Elias Lindholm, where it got them into the playoffs, and it was a bit more expensive than they were hoping for, because he did eventually price himself out in free agency. But if you bring in Tyson Barrie, who isn't expecting too much, and you don't have to pay him too much, I don't see that as being a bad low risk, high reward potential situation, where Tyson Barrie has been around for a while. He's seen the scene, and he could benefit from this Vancouver system, where they just seem to bring out the best out of guys, even when they're expected to not perform past the age of 30 or 29, when they're not expected to make those 20-goal splashes after some lower seasons with other teams. So I think Vancouver is a place where Tyson Barrie can explode. And again, these are two hometown guys where not only are you bringing them into a Vancouver system where they can excel with this team chemistry, but it's also a Vancouver system where they are in a city where they are familiar with. They are from BC. So that is something that you can also bring them in on a hometown deal and something that fans will embrace right off the bat. So let us know what you guys think down as well as far as bringing these Vancouver guys home on some cap-friendly deals and what they could bring to this defense. And then we're going to hop into the third person, which is Adam Boqvist from Sweden. He hasn't been around too long, but he was drafted number 8th overall by the Chicago Blackhawks in 2018. He was most recently with the Columbus Blue Jackets for the past 3 seasons. He didn't play too much last season. And when you look at what they had to say, that when healthy, Boqvist is a dynamic puck-moving defenseman with exceptional hockey IQ and awareness. He was selected 8th overall in 2018 for a reason and flashed some of his potential during his career season in 2021-2022 when he had 11 goals and 22 points. After that season, it appeared that he was destined to be a huge part of the Blue Jackets' blue line. But of course, injuries have derailed that since then. He still could be an impact defenseman in the NHL one day, and the Canucks should take advantage of this bargain basement value right now and sign him. Analytics put his future contract almost $2.4 million AAV on a 3-year deal, but I could see him signing for closer to 1.5 or $2 million. And if Vancouver is able to make this happen, where we've seen it happen before, where they just give those guys those jump starts. We see where Connor Garland was coming from in Arizona and what he was able to do on Vancouver when paired with Dakota Joshua. So if you bring Boqvist in, we wonder what he could do, where he goes from teams like Chicago when they were struggling, like Columbus, where they are a dumpster fire of an organization right now. I think it would be interesting to see what he can do on this Vancouver team when he's given the pieces around him to excel and perform. So let us know what you guys down there think as well on bringing him in. What do you guys think of these 3 guys? Is there anyone that we didn't mention, that we haven't mentioned in videos before, that you would like to see get brought in? We'd love to hear what you guys think as well. But speaking of what you guys have to think, let's get into everyone's favorite topic, which is comment of the day. And we see here in a comment from Canuck Fiend, I think people need to realize that Boeser isn't wanting to leave Vancouver. He said he will take big discounts to stay here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's on the low end of $7 million. And that's talking about our last video where we talked about the potential outlook of Brock Boeser's next contract after this next season, when his contract is up and he is a UFA, of what that could look like. And I do agree with him here, where Boeser has made it very clear that he loves the city of Vancouver. He loves being here. He loves being a part of not only this team and this organization, but also of this city, like many of these players are. So it'd be amazing to see him stay for a cheaper deal and a much more cap-friendly deal, especially when he could be looking at what the other implications of these other players around him is, where he's been around the league long enough. He's made the money he needs to make. So if he's able to just kind of just kick his heels back and retire out of Vancouver and just be one of these guys that just stayed in Vancouver and never left, that would be amazing, because then he's someone who you just bring in these guys, you build the future around him, where he's not getting paid too much, but he just loves being there. I think that'd be cool, because where you can pay these other younger guys to perform, where they might just start being superstars like Brock Boeser. I think it puts Vancouver in an interesting spot where they don't just pigeonhole themselves as far as cap space goes. But let us know what you guys think down there. We saw a lot of comments as far as what Boeser's contract should look like. It's going to be interesting to see how it all boils down, but that's going to be a bridge that we cross to at the end of next season. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.